Hey everyone, it's Adam. Today we're going to talk about how to connect MixEffect directly to your ATEM switcher without having any network connection. That's right. There are situations when you're out in the field and you want to use MixEffect, but there's no internet connection. So how are you going to connect MixEffect to your ATEM switcher? Let's find out. So first we're going to take a look at the physical setup over here. We have an iPad mini 4 that's connected using an Ethernet cable that's directly plugged into the ATEM mini. And you can see I'm connected using MixEffect, and I'm going to tap auto, and you see the auto transition. And I can change some of these inputs here. You can see the lights turn on. Do an auto again. And we're done. So how is this configured? First off, we have to take a look at the configuration on the ATEM Mini Pro. And you see I have the USB cable here, and that's plugged into my Mac. So let's take a look at how the Mac is configured. And we won't have to do this. We can actually unplug the USB cable after we're done. But for the purposes of this video, I just want to show you what it looks like. So if we take a look in ATEM setup, we have the ATEM Mini Pro, and you see that's connected via USB. So we'll click on this button here, which is the network settings. And what I've done is define a static IP address for the ATEM Mini Pro. And you see I've given it the IP address of 192.168.1.100, a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, and a gateway of 192.168.1.1. So we'll click on Save here. Now we're going to go over to the iPad and take a look at what that looks like. So we're going to go over to the Settings app. And when we're connected to Ethernet, we'll have an additional option here, Ethernet. And we'll see that I have already configured a static IP address for this. Normally it's set to automatic, but because this is not connected to any router, we have to choose manual. And so the IP address, I'm going to give it 192.168.1.101. I'm not going to choose 100 because that's the IP address of the ATEM Mini Pro, and devices all have to have different IP addresses. But for the subnet mask, I'm going to give it the same 255.255.255.0. And for the router, which is also called the gateway in ATEM setup, I'm going to give it 192.168.1.1. And so what this does is it's going to, when I ask MixEffect to connect to the ATEM Mini Pro, you see that I've given it the ATEM Mini Pro static, and the IP address is 192.168.1.100. And because I've created basically a closed network, MixEffect is able to talk to the ATEM. And I can actually unplug the USB cable, you'll see here, and I'm still connected. So we can go to the switcher. And again, we can tap auto, and everything just works. And I'm not connected. Now, if you have other devices that are on the, that you want to connect to the ATEM, including MixEffect, you can always add a little switch. So in this case, I'm going to show you how that works here. So let's bring back our video. And actually, SuperSource, I'm going to move my little graphic out of the way so I can move myself over there. And I'm going to bring in this little network switch that I have. So let me just reach down here. So here I have a network switch, very simple gigabit network switch. It's plugged into power, and I'm going to connect everything together. So I'm going to plug the iPad Mini's Ethernet connection into there. I'm going to plug the ATEM connection into here. Now you see the everything's connected to the switch, and the switch is going to route traffic. So you can see here that the iPad Mini is now able to connect to the ATEM Mini Pro. The switch isn't doling out any IP addresses, it's just a stupid switch. But I have additional ports here, so I could plug in another device into here that can connect to MixEffect Pro and to the ATEM Mini Pro, and you can use it like that. Here is just another setup. Again, this is ATEM setup here, but because I've unplugged the USB cable, you can't see the ATEM Mini Pro. So let's plug that back in. We're just going to verify all the settings one more time. So we go back here. We have the ATEM Mini Pro, and I will bring in this here. So the iPhone, I'm going to switch to the Apple TV. There we go. And I'm going to actually make this a little smaller so you can see the screen. So you can see the settings screen in iOS. Go to Ethernet. There we go. So we see over here on the left the ATEM Mini Pro, 192.168.1.100, subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, and a gateway 192.168.1.1. And we have here on the iPad Mini, we have the same thing, 192.168.1.101, because again, devices have to have different IP addresses. Subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 and a router of 192.168.1.1. Now, what's important to note is that I'm also connected to Wi-Fi. So we take a look at my Wi-Fi settings. I am on the network of 10.0.1.153. So you don't want to choose an IP address for the static Ethernet that's on the same network as your Wi-Fi or other networks that you might be connected to. So there are a couple of kind of IP addresses that you can choose from that I'll list in the notes below. So there is the 192.168, there's the 172.16, and then there's the 10.0 range that you can use. So choose from one of those that's not being in use, and you should be good to go. And then I'm going to go back to this view here. And you can see again, I can connect and use MixEffect with my iPad. Oops, it's reconnecting to the switcher. When you leave out of MixEffect, come back, you have to reconnect often because iOS does aggressive background suspension of apps. But you see I'm connected now and it's working just fine. So there you go. How to connect MixEffect to your ATEM switcher without having any network connection. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I have more to come, including an update to MixEffect 1.3.0, which is coming out in maybe a week or two. It's got some exciting new features with OSC, companion and feedback, and some bug fixes and improvements. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button down below, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.